This is one of the most popular books in modern history, and you're about to learn the whole thing in just a few minutes. Atomic Habits is a practical guide to understanding how small, consistent changes can compound into remarkable results, helping you build better habits and break bad ones for lasting personal transformation. Let's have a productive life. Chapter 1: The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits. Imagine if you could get just 1% better at something every single day. Over a year, that small improvement compounds, making you 37 times better by the end. This is the essence of habits. They're like compound interest for your self-improvement. In this chapter, James Clear emphasizes that success isn't about massive transformations. Instead, it's the product of consistent daily habits. Clear illustrates this point with his personal story. After suffering a serious injury, he rebuilt his life by focusing on small, incremental changes. These seemingly insignificant efforts accumulated over time, leading to major achievements in academics, sports, and personal growth. The lesson is simple but profound. Small habits might seem trivial at the moment, but they hold the key to significant long-term change. So, where do we start? Begin with tiny, consistent actions rather than overhauling your life all at once. Focus on the process, not just the outcome, because it's the process that builds the momentum. And remember, small wins are powerful. Each small victory boosts your confidence and propels you forward. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Chapter 2: How your habits shape your identity, and vice versa. Who do you want to be? This question is central to creating lasting change. Clear explains that habits are not just about achieving goals, they're about becoming the kind of person who aligns with those habits. Every small action you take is like casting a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Over time, these votes build a new identity. For example, instead of saying, "I want to lose weight," say, "I am a healthy person." This subtle shift is powerful because it ties your habits to your self-image. Clear explains that when habits are tied to identity, they become intrinsically motivating. You're not just doing something, you're becoming someone. To implement this, start by defining your desired identity. Use affirmations or visual reminders to reinforce this image of yourself. Track your small wins as evidence that you are becoming the person you aspire to be. By focusing on who you want to become, your habits will naturally align with your vision. Chapter 3: How to Build Better Habits in 4 Simple Steps. Now that we understand the why behind habits, let's talk about the how. Habits form through a 4-step loop: cue, craving, response, and reward. These steps are the foundation of Clear's system for behavior change. If you can master each step, you can create habits that stick or break those that don't serve you. The 4 laws of behavior change stem from this loop: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. For example, if you want to start reading more, leave a book on your pillow as a cue. To make it attractive, choose a genre you love. Make it easy by setting a goal of just 1 page per day. And to make it satisfying, celebrate each day you stick with it. Start by identifying the cues that trigger your current habits. Design your environment to make the habits you want more obvious and accessible. Use techniques like habit stacking, pairing a new habit with an existing routine to make the transition seamless. These simple tweaks can transform how you approach behavior change. Chapter 4: The Man Who Didn't Look Right. In this chapter, Clear shares an example of a nurse who could sense, almost instinctively, when a patient was in danger. This wasn't magic. It was years of practice and acute awareness of subtle cues that most people wouldn't notice. This idea is central to habit change. Awareness is always the first step. Without recognizing the cues that trigger your behaviors, it's nearly impossible to change them. Clear tells us, with enough practice, your brain will pick up on the cues that predict certain outcomes without consciously thinking about it. The process of change, therefore, begins with paying close attention to your daily habits. One way to do this is by creating a habit scorecard, where you list your routines and evaluate them. By identifying your triggers, like the time of day, emotional states, or locations, you can start understanding what prompts both good and bad habits. To implement this in your life, begin by practicing mindfulness. Pause throughout your day to reflect on why you're doing what you're doing. Are you grabbing that snack out of hunger or boredom? Awareness is powerful because it lets you disrupt old patterns and lay the foundation for better ones. Chapter 5. The best way to start a new habit. Now that you're aware of your triggers, how do you actually start a new habit? Clear gives us an incredibly effective strategy: habit stacking. This method works by pairing a new behavior with an existing habit. For example, let's say you want to start meditating. You could decide, after I brew my morning coffee, I'll meditate for 2 minutes. By anchoring the new habit to an existing routine, it becomes easier to remember and perform consistently. Clear emphasizes that time and location also play a big role in forming habits. The two most common cues for habits are when and where they occur. If you specify the exact time and place for your new habit, you remove the ambiguity and make it much more likely to succeed. For instance, at 7 a.m. in the kitchen, I will drink a glass of water is clear and actionable. To make this practical, start by identifying an existing habit you do daily, like brushing your teeth or checking your email. Attach a simple new habit to it, such as stretching, journaling, or drinking water. Experiment with different environments as well. Sometimes a new location can make a habit feel more natural and enjoyable. Chapter 6. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. This chapter challenges a common misconception that success comes from motivation alone. Clear argues that while motivation can help, it's unreliable and fleeting. Instead, the environment plays a far greater role in shaping behavior. As he puts it, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself snacking just because there's a bag of chips sitting on the counter? That's the power of your surroundings. To encourage good habits, you need to design your environment in a way that supports them. For example, if you want to eat healthier, make fresh fruits and vegetables easily accessible while hiding junk food in hard-to-reach places. Clear also explains that you don't have to be the victim of your environment. You can be the architect of it. Rearrange your surroundings to make desired habits more obvious and convenient. Add visual cues, like leaving your workout clothes by your bed to prompt morning exercise. Similarly, create friction for bad habits. Delete social media apps from your phone or put them in a folder far from your home screen. By designing an environment that naturally nudges you toward positive behaviors, you reduce the need for willpower and make success automatic. Chapter 7. The secret to self-control. When we think of self-control, many of us imagine summoning sheer willpower to resist temptation. But Clear challenges this idea. He explains that true self-control isn't about constantly battling temptation. It's about avoiding it in the first place. Disciplined people, he writes, are better at structuring their lives in a way that does not require heroic willpower and self-control. Clear argues that our environment and the systems we create shape our behavior far more than momentary bursts of discipline. For instance, someone who doesn't keep junk food in their house doesn't need to resist it every time they walk into the kitchen. By minimizing exposure to temptation, they reduce the need for constant self-discipline. Clear sums this up perfectly. A habit that has been encoded in the mind is ready to be used whenever the relevant situation arises. So how can we apply this? Start by identifying your most common temptations. If you struggle to resist scrolling through your phone, place it in another room during focused work time. Establish clear boundaries, what Clear calls bright lines, to eliminate ambiguity about what's acceptable. And consider using commitment devices like pre-deciding rules or enlistments to hold yourself accountable. By doing this, you create an environment where self-control is almost automatic. Chapter 8. How to make a habit irresistible. Now let's talk about making habits more attractive. Our brains are hardwired to seek rewards, and Clear shows us how to leverage this to make habits stick. He introduces the concept of temptation bundling, where you pair a habit you need to do with something you enjoy. For example, listening to your favorite podcast while exercising turns a chore into a treat. Clear explains that you can make hard habits more attractive if you can learn to associate them with a positive experience. This works because the anticipation of a reward can motivate us to start and sustain the habit. Think about it. Why do so many people struggle with dieting? It's because the rewards often feel distant. But if you can reframe your habits by focusing on immediate benefits, like how energized you feel after a workout, you make them more appealing. To implement this, try temptation bundling. Combine a necessary task, like folding laundry, with something enjoyable, like watching your favorite show. You can also create rituals that make starting a habit more enjoyable, like lighting a candle before journaling to set the mood. And always keep the long-term benefits in mind, reframing the challenge as an opportunity for growth. When your habits are tied to both pleasure and purpose, they become much easier to sustain. Chapter 9. The role of family and friends in shaping your habits. In this chapter, Clear shifts the focus to social influence. He emphasizes that we are deeply shaped by the habits of those around us. We imitate the habits of 3 groups, he writes, the close, the many, and the powerful. This means that your habits are often a reflection of your family, friends, and the broader culture you belong to. Clear highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with people who embody the habits you want to adopt. If your goal is to exercise more, joining a fitness class where regular workouts are the norm can be a game changer. Social pressure and the desire to belong can work in your favor when you align yourself with supportive, like-minded people. So how do we harness this power? Start by finding communities where your desired behavior is standard practice. For example, if you want to read more, join a book club. Spend more time with people who inspire you and reflect the values you aspire to adopt. Finally, share your goals with supportive friends or family members. They can hold you accountable and cheer you on along the way. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Chapter 10. How to find and fix the causes of your bad habits. Every bad habit starts somewhere. James Clear explains that bad habits are often the result of unaddressed cues or unmet desires. For example, mindless snacking might stem from boredom, while procrastination could be driven by a fear of failure. Every craving is linked to a desire to change your internal state, Clear reminds us. To fix bad habits, we need to dig deeper and ask why they exist in the first place. Clear encourages us to perform a root cause analysis by repeatedly asking why until we uncover the trigger behind a behavior. Once we understand what need or emotion the habit fulfills, we can replace it with a healthier alternative that meets the same need. For instance, if snacking is tied to boredom, try replacing it with an activity like stretching or journaling. Adjusting your environment can also play a key role. Remove cues that lead to bad habits, such as storing your phone out of reach when you need to focus, and set yourself up for success. By addressing the deeper motivations behind bad habits and reshaping your environment, you can break free from patterns that no longer serve you. Chapter 11. Walk slowly, but never backward. Progress isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. In this chapter, Clear emphasizes that even small, steady improvements can add up to remarkable changes over time. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement, he writes. Mistakes are inevitable, but what matters most is how you respond to them. Clear urges us to focus on building momentum through daily actions, no matter how small. For example, if you're building a writing habit, even jotting down a single sentence counts as progress. What's important is that you don't allow a single setback to spiral into a pattern of giving up. As Clear puts it, the secret to getting results that last is to never stop making improvements. To stay consistent, track your progress visually. A simple calendar or a habit tracker can reinforce your commitment and keep your streak alive. And when setbacks occur, remember to recover quickly and recommit. It's not about being perfect, it's about walking forward, even if it's one slow step at a time. Chapter 12. The Law of Least Effort. Human nature gravitates toward the path of least resistance. Clear explains that the easier a behavior is, the more likely you are to do it. This is why reducing friction around good habits and increasing friction around bad ones can make a big difference. Reduce the friction associated with your good habits, he advises. Think about how simple changes can make habits easier to stick to. For example, laying out your workout clothes the night before removes a barrier to exercising in the morning. On the flip side, increasing friction for bad habits, like deleting distracting apps or storing snacks in hard-to-reach places, can help you avoid them altogether. Another strategy is automating positive behaviors whenever possible. For instance, setting up automatic bill payments or scheduling reminders for your daily goals ensures that good habits happen without extra effort. By designing systems that align with the law of least effort, you create an environment where the right choices come naturally. Chapter 13. How to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. Procrastination often feels like an insurmountable wall, but Clear offers a simple solution, the 2-minute rule. He explains that the hardest part of any habit is often just getting started. A habit must be established before it can be improved, he writes. The 2-minute rule states that when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. The goal is to reduce the mental resistance to starting by focusing on the smallest possible version of the task. For instance, instead of saying, "I'll run 3 miles," start with, "I'll put on my running shoes." Once you've taken that first step, momentum often carries you forward. This technique is powerful because it shifts the focus from finishing a task to simply showing up. Clear explains that the real value of the 2-minute rule is that it helps you build consistency. To put this into practice, break down your habits into micro actions that take less than 2 minutes. Focus on showing up, even if the effort is minimal at first. And remember, the 2-minute rule is a gateway to bigger progress. Once you're in motion, the rest often follows naturally. Chapter 14. How to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Next, let's talk about making habits foolproof. Clear emphasizes that creating systems and automating your behaviors can make good habits easy and bad habits difficult. He writes, "The best way to break a bad habit is to make it impractical to do." This is where tools like commitment devices come into play. They help lock in future behaviors and remove decision fatigue. For example, automatic savings plans make saving money effortless. Similarly, keeping junk food out of the house limits temptation, making it harder to indulge in bad habits. By designing your environment and pre-committing to positive behaviors, you create situations where the desired choice becomes the default. Clear encourages us to use tools like timers, preset routines, or contracts to enforce good habits. Think of it as setting up a system where success is inevitable, whether it's using an app to track your habits or signing an agreement with an accountability partner. These systems help eliminate excuses and make long-term change more achievable. Chapter 15. The cardinal rule of behavior change. Let's explore why immediate rewards are crucial for behavior change. Clear explains that humans are wired for instant gratification, which often works against long-term goals. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. He writes, "To make habits stick, we need to align immediate rewards with our long-term vision." For example, if you're trying to establish a workout habit, rewarding yourself with a small treat, like a smoothie or a few minutes of relaxation, can reinforce the behavior. On the other hand, creating immediate consequences for skipping a habit, like a financial penalty for missing a workout, can deter undesirable behavior. Accountability systems, such as sharing your progress with a friend or using social incentives, also provide instant feedback and motivation. Clear reminds us that even small rewards can make habits more satisfying in the moment, bridging the gap between short-term effort and long-term results. Chapter 16. How to stick with good habits every day. Consistency is the foundation of any lasting habit, and this chapter explains how tracking habits can help you maintain that consistency. James Clear emphasizes the importance of monitoring progress and celebrating small wins. He introduces tools like habit trackers, which provide a simple way to record and visually reinforce your progress. As Clear says, "Don't break the chain." This phrase highlights the power of keeping your streak alive. Each day you complete the habit adds momentum to your journey. The act of tracking habits gives immediate reinforcement. Seeing a streak build on a calendar or app keeps motivation high and ensures your habits remain a priority. Clear reminds us that the more immediate the reinforcement, the stronger the habit becomes. On days when life gets busy, tracking also helps you stay on course, even if your actions are small. To implement this, use a habit tracker to monitor your daily progress. Whether it's a physical calendar or a digital app, make it a visual reminder of your consistency. Set cues or reminders to prompt your habits, and if you can't complete the full habit, Commit to at least a small version of it to avoid breaking the chain. Progress builds confidence, and confidence fuels more progress. Chapter 17. How an accountability partner can change everything. Sometimes sticking with habits requires more than self-motivation. It requires accountability. Clear explains that social accountability can significantly increase the likelihood of following through on your goals. Knowing that someone else is watching you can be a powerful motivator, he writes. When you involve others, whether through an accountability partner or a formal commitment contract, you add stakes and external support to your habit-building process. For example, you might pair up with a friend who shares your goal of exercising regularly. By checking in with each other or scheduling workouts together, you create a shared sense of responsibility. Formal commitment contracts take this a step further by attaching tangible stakes, such as a financial penalty for missing a goal. Clear emphasizes that an accountability partner keeps you both honest and focused. To apply this, find someone who shares similar goals and commit to holding each other accountable. You could also formalize your goals with a written agreement or by sharing your progress publicly with a trusted group. The key is to make your commitments visible and to rely on external reinforcement when internal motivation wavers. Chapter 18. The Truth About Talent, When Genes Matter and When They Don't. Now let's talk about the role of talent and genetics in habit formation. Clear explains that while talent and natural abilities can set the stage, your habits determine how far you can go. Genes do not determine your destiny. They determine your areas of opportunity, he writes. Success is ultimately about effort and persistence, not just innate ability. Clear encourages aligning your habits with your natural strengths to maximize your potential. For example, if you're naturally analytical, you might excel at habits like journaling or planning. Habits that fit your personality and skills are easier to stick with because they feel more natural. As Clear puts it, habits that fit your personality and skills are easier to stick with. To put this into practice, take time to identify your natural talents and create habits that leverage these strengths. Experiment with different approaches until you find routines that feel right for you. Most importantly, focus on effort and persistence rather than relying solely on talent, because consistency always trumps natural ability in the long run. Chapter 19. The Goldilocks Rule, How to Stay Motivated in Life and Work. Motivation is often fleeting, but Clear shows us how to maintain it by staying in what he calls the Goldilocks zone. This is the sweet spot where tasks are challenging enough to engage your focus, but not so difficult that they feel overwhelming. As he puts it, humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Clear explains that boredom, not failure, is the greatest threat to long-term success. Once a habit becomes routine, it's easy to lose interest. To counter this, he recommends breaking large goals into smaller, progressively challenging tasks that keep you in the Goldilocks zone. For example, if you're learning a new language, you might start with simple vocabulary and gradually increase the complexity as your skills improve. It's also helpful to adjust or rotate habits periodically to keep them fresh. Boredom can actually be a sign of mastery, so reframe it as an opportunity to push your limits further rather than a reason to quit. By staying just outside your comfort zone, you can sustain both focus and motivation over time. Chapter 20. The Downside of Creating Good Habits. While habits are incredibly powerful, they're not without their downsides. Clear warns that over-relying on habits can lead to complacency or a rigid way of thinking. Beware of the downside of habits. They can lock you into a rigid way of thinking and acting, he writes. Habits, by their nature, automate behavior, which can sometimes stifle creativity and adaptability. This is why Clear emphasizes the importance of periodic reflection and review. Regularly assess whether your habits are still serving your goals or if they need adjustment. Without this step, you risk continuing habits that no longer align with your priorities or prevent you from adapting to new challenges. To avoid stagnation, challenge yourself by intentionally stepping out of your routine. For instance, if you always follow the same workout regimen, try a new type of exercise to spark creativity and engagement. Journaling or habit tracking can also help you reflect on your progress and identify areas for improvement. Habits should evolve with you, not hold you back. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Chapter 21. Conclusion. The secret to results that last. As the book concludes, Clear drives home one key message. Lasting success comes from focusing on systems, not just goals. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, he writes. Goals are important, but they're outcomes. It's the systems you build that determine whether those outcomes are achieved. Clear reminds us that true change is identity-driven and requires continuous effort. Habits are not one-time actions, but an ongoing process of refinement and improvement. He encourages readers to embrace habits as part of a lifelong journey of self-improvement tied to who you want to become, not just what you want to achieve. To implement this, shift your focus from specific goals to building systems that make success inevitable. Regularly refine these systems to adapt to new circumstances or challenges. Most importantly, see habits as tools for shaping your identity. Each action is a vote for the person you want to be. With this mindset, success becomes not just possible, but sustainable. Atomic Habits teaches us that success is not about massive overhauls, but about the small, consistent actions we take every day. By focusing on systems instead of outcomes and aligning habits with our identity, we can achieve sustainable and meaningful growth. Clear emphasizes that change is a continuous process of refinement and adaptation, shaped by awareness, environment, and persistence. Ultimately, this book provides a framework for becoming the person you want to be, one habit at a time.